Welcome to the University of Northampton Popular Music Podcast. Hi there, my name is Dr. Stace Constantino. I'm a senior lecturer and the programme leader for popular music at the University of Northampton. Happy New Year, everyone. Can you believe it's 2024 already? For this UON Popular Music Podcast number 9, I've decided to share with you a podcast I made with Julie Samuels. We talk about our experience of collaborating to make a soundscape, Partial Outsiders. Julie is an artist, author, and has extensive industry and teaching experience. She has a master's degree in philosophy from Sussex University. Julie also has a master's degree in fine art from the University of Northumbria at Newcastle. Julie is also the co-founder with Zoe Camper of the Augmented Society Network, an RSA Fellows Thematic Network. To hear Partial Outsiders' soundscape, please see the links below, and I've also included links to Julie and her work as well, so please do check those out.
I'm Julie Samuels, co-lead of the Augmented Society Network.
I'm Dr. Stace Constantino, University of Northampton, and I'm one of the creative contributors to Julie's amazing project.
Myself and Stace have worked together, and this became an opportunity for us to work together.
So Julie and I met probably over 10 years ago now in Brighton, and we were both lecturers. Julie was teaching digital media and I was teaching music production. We didn't do anything creatively together.
We reconnected during COVID online.
So this was an opportunity for us to do something together as creative people.
The piece that myself and Stace have worked on, Partial Outsiders, is it's derived from conversations that we've been having for more than a decade about identity, culture, colonialism, what it means to be born in the UK but still being perceived as an outsider.
We were having one of our online meetups. We haven't actually met in person for maybe 10 years. And we met in Lincoln. You and your son met us for lunch, and I did a job interview.
That was 6 years ago.
First of all, so we had an online meeting and then you mentioned your creativity project, and I said that sounds really awesome. I'd love to be involved. Okay, and then I think that was the end of that conversation, and then we said, right, next time we meet, we'll talk about the creativity stuff. And so we booked in another meeting together, and then we're off.
The next meeting we had was a really productive 4 hours. We talked about so much stuff. I started going to the gym. I've been using the rowing machine, and other people had headphones and I had no headphones, and I would sit there, I would just listen to the rowing machine, and my mind would often drift, and I just imagined that I was on a slave ship and what it must have been like, that monotony of the rowing back and forth, and just the sound of the chain of the machine, the mechanisms of it kind of going round. And also it was hot, and all I could just think about was what it must have been like to be a slave on a ship in the heat. And I think that's where the idea came from, and I started to discuss it with Stace, and then Partial Outsiders was conceived. It's weird because it's the kind of thing that I would often sit and I would imagine and think about. It was the first time I'd actually articulated it to anybody. That was quite a strange feeling in itself.
I didn't know that. So thanks for sharing that with me then.
Through our conversations, the commonality that we have is that the countries that our parents are from were colonised by Britain, and that connection is what I think was the start of our friendship when we first met. The fact that we are born here, but we are just not seen to be from here.
Yeah, so then we started talking about creative ideas around this. Oh, and I think you mentioned you like some of the soundscapes that I've made, and I said, well, I'll make you a soundscape because I like making soundscapes.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's what it was, isn't it?
Yeah, so he said, well, what sort of sounds do you want? And it's like the sound of a rowing machine, or I said, well, I've got a big chain in the garage. I could record that.
That sounds suspicious, the big chain in the garage.
I'll tell you why I've got a chain. I brought it in London, and it was to chain up my bike. And it was the biggest chain I could find. It's in a hardware shop, just not far from Brixton, in I think it was Balham or something. So that's why I've got a chain.
But that's the thing, isn't it? It's the thing about the idea about the chain, isn't it? It's the device that oppresses you.
Yeah.
It's the device that's used to ground you, and ultimately, it's a device that is used basically for control, isn't it? It's about you chain someone and you enslave them in that way because they cannot escape.
That's right. Yeah. Physically, metaphorically, symbolically. And the sound of it was going to go into and has gone into the soundscape. And then we talked about other sounds.
We talked about the kind of idea of the carnival and the kind of carnival sounds. The dub sounds as well, yeah.
Oh, the dub sound.
And we also talked about the kind of the music, that the group Cypriot music and those sounds, and I guess the history that is associated with the passing down of those sounds, and what it means.
Yes, so I've got some bouzouki in there, and I've also made sound recordings when I've been to Cyprus. So I've got birds from the mountains, and I've got frogs and croaking, and cicadas or crickets as well. And then we've also got sounds of England. So we've got church bells that you can hear from my back garden. And one day, fairly recently, the church was doing all these like popular tunes. So I just got my recorder out and started recording it all. So you just hear it in the distance, these bell sounds drifting through the air.
But also the sound of bells was used during the war in Britain, wasn't it, as a warning as well? So that kind of, and the kind of, the colonisation of Britain, and how after the wars they wanted people from the Caribbean to come, and the bells were used as a warning sign. So there's a really, really nice kind of link there as well with the church bells. And obviously, the nuns and the missionaries that went to all these islands of the Caribbean with the Bible from the church. There's a really beautiful link there as well.
The Christian link from Cyprus to Britain to the Caribbean. So it's a common link as well there, isn't there?
For me personally, I feel that the Bible was brought to enslave us.
Right. But you are quite Christian though? You've said that to me before. Or you like Christian values or something?
I am, but when I think about the Bible and I read the Bible, in the back of my mind, I still think about how the Bible was brought to Africa and to the Caribbean in good faith, but actually what it was used in many ways was to imprison us, was used to enslave us. I think it was the idea of good and evil, because the representations of the Bible are very kind of white. Pictures of Jesus is white. Now, Jesus wasn't born in a country where he would be in white.
That's true Protestant North European imagery, but as soon as you go to South European, North Africa, all those images change.
Exactly. And I think they're more of a reflection of that I can see my own identity in.
And then you were going to create some, you didn't know what yet, but you were going to create some visual art or something to go with it.
Yeah, but when we discussed it, I think once I listened to the soundscape, when I closed my eyes, it told me a beautiful story of all the conversations that we had. And I felt that if I created visuals, it would detract from the sounds and when I listened to it, all the conversations that we had, all the thoughts that I'd had about the rowing machine and what it meant for us to be those partial outsiders. When I closed my eyes, I could visualize it. And then I felt that anybody else would listen to the soundscape, rather than looking at the visuals that I imposed on them, it'd be nice if they could close their eyes and just think about their own personal journeys and create their own visuals in that way.
I got it. So because I remember you saying this actually. You visualise, don't you, as soon as you hear sounds and things?
Yes, I do.
And I emotionalise with sounds. I tend to be emotional with music, not particularly visual.
Whereas I hear sounds and I see visuals. Yeah, I see the sounds.
Cool. So you've added visualizations into my sound. So it's a true collaboration in that sense.
I suppose so. Yeah. Through the conversations that we've had, we've created a visual narrative. So it was just a joyous, it was a wonderful chapter of my life, and I hope that after we've done this, we continue to do more. What I've loved about working with you is that when I did my degree in my MA, I looked at my identity as a black person, but being born and raised in Britain, and then I kind of left that behind, and I worked in the corporate world and I worked in education, and this project has been wonderful because it's allowed me to reconnect with my creativity in that way. What I really would like is for people to listen to the soundscape and visualize their own history, visualize their own and see themselves in it.
Yeah.
That's why I think the soundscape works, because people come to it with different experiences and hopefully it resonates with them.
Whilst it's come from our personal experiences, it's come from that place, but it's not about us.
Exactly. I think people will listen to it and they will hear things like the church bells.
Yeah.
Or the dub sound, and relate to the music that they love, their childhood memories of going to church, their holidays in the sun, and all of those things.
Thank you so much for listening to our podcast. If you found it enjoyable or interesting, please like and subscribe, and even leave a comment down below if you like.